The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
Once had a story with a woman, I haven't spoken to her in ages. Punkt today, I happened to call her up. Today she's in Almana. And she said, "Why are you calling me?" I said, "I was thinking about you." Wow. I said, "How are you doing? How are your children doing?" That was mechazik. I gave a chizik. Now, when she got married late, not early. Her husband was a little older, I would say in their young 30s. And she couldn't have kids. She tried year after year after year. Maybe after and I told her not to worry, I'm sure you're going to have kids. I'm sure you're going to have kids. But she didn't. And every month she was trying to mechazik herself that the next month I'm going to have kids. And she didn't. And when she didn't, she went a little berserk. And she would call me and bless me in a different language. You told me you're a liar, you're a faker. I said, "I never told you that I'm going to give you the kids." I said, Hashem's going to give you the kids. But she was very, very ticked off. And every time she would call me, I would declare, should I pick the phone up? I know what's coming. And I said to myself, maybe it's good news. But it wasn't. And the husband told me that I appreciate you pick up the phone. Because otherwise, I'm the brunt of all her expressions. Now I appreciate you share it with me. I said, maybe you should put something in her coffee in the morning to get her to relax a little bit. But I was enemy number one till a couple of weeks later. I took it to again, Machazaka, this time it's going to work. And then 10 years went by. No kids. And the husband decided, you know what, I'm going to be practical. He told his wife, let's get real. We're not going to have kids. She called me up. She was furious that her husband gave up. I said, 10 years? There's a basis for that in Allah. I said, do you think we should give up? I said, no, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't give up. And then, one day, they received a call. A Hasidic Rebbe was coming to town with his entourage, and they needed a place to camp out for a week. And the conditions were, they preferred if you moved out of the house, but if you wanted to stay, you could stay, but they cash your entire house, they bring their own pots and their own pans, and you have no permission in your own home to cook anything in the kitchen. Can't even cook water. You want water? You say, I'd like water, and we'll serve you hand and foot. The whole entourage came with a whole bunch of people. The Kitzer, she called me up, and I said, this might be the time. This might be the call from Hashem that I'm ready to. And I told her about this chazal. She said, okay. They came, they brought their own dishes, own cups. They used paper, they used nice stuff. They came, mamish. They made that house kosher lePesach, total. As if it was treif gomer beforehand. And the lady was very bemused by the going on. She never saw Hasidim. She never saw them up close. bad behavior. She calls me up and says, these people don't sleep. They're up all night. People are coming and going and banging the doors. Not banging the doors. I said, listen, you just watch, take some melatonin, get some ear things for your ears. You rest. It's going to be a few days, just 1 week. Well, one day, the third day that they were there, but here we have Ashlishi. And she woke up very early. She told me she doesn't think they went to sleep before 4 o'clock. So she figured at 5 it was safe to go down to the kitchen and make herself some water to make a cup of coffee. And then she put up the water and it started to whistle. That's what Ernst Chinex do. And as soon as it started to whistle, she said, every door in the house opened up and Hasidim wear white tachrichim for pajamas. And they, every night, prepare to do tshuva before they leave this world. And they came running out, all these white ghosts, she tells me, scream, what do you want? What are you doing? What are you doing? I said, I'm just making a cup of water. No, you sit down, we'll make the water for you. She said to them, that's it, you gotta leave. I told her, that's a little rash. Why are you dropping the bowl? They have to move out that day. She can't tolerate it. That's it. I try to tell nicely that, you may want to think that over because it may be a big mistake that you do. Could you imagine what would have happened, I told her, if Sarah Imenu would have come out and started screaming at these 3 guests of Avram, can't you see my husband is bleeding? Will you please get out of here, you guys? You know what I mean? Go find somewhere else. Avram would have said, oh no, I begged him to come. I don't care, you're not taking care of yourself. That's what a wife does, she takes care of her husband. No, they would have got kicked out, and then the brachas would have evaporated. But I told the lady, think about it. No can do. So, she let him loose. I don't know why, but the next year they called her back again. And they said to her, would you like to host us for an entire week? It's time. And she called me again. I said, Hashem loves you and is giving you a second chance. I said, you're very lucky you're getting a second chance. And she accepted it. And this time she was able to handle it for an entire week. And I told her to ask the Hasidim for a bracha, that this year should be the year for you. And we're talking in year 15 from her marriage. We knew the problem, that medicine recognized what the problem was, why she couldn't have kids. It wasn't time that she didn't hit the relay number yet. There was a Siba. And that year, she had her first job. I told her, you walked in the footsteps of Sarah Imenu, and you were Zoicha to produce a child. I went to see her in the hospital. Her husband asked me if I can come to the hospital, give her an idea for a name for the child. She said, do you think I could dream of another one? I said, of course. What's the shayla? Hashem gave you one. For him, it's not able to give you 2. I hope you were zeicha to it. And she proceeded to have a second child. And her life then became worth living. On the other hand, I'll tell you a story about a lady who made me crazy that she wanted a child. She wanted me to promise her she's having another child. I said, I can't. She said, oh, you promised everybody else. I said, I never promised anybody. I never heard of anybody that promised anybody. I said, Mitzvah Hashem, if Hashem wants you to have a child. Now this lady had children already. wasn't like she didn't have children, she had children. And I told her this story about this other lady. And I said, you'll know, if you're going to have a child, if somebody calls you to invite them into your home under not an easy circumstance, then you'll know the emes. Daven for it. But the problem was that she was in the matzav of Sari Menu. She was already post being able to have kids. Her body already was past. I was thinking to myself, Hashem did it for Sari Menu. You can do it for anybody, right? The kitzer, one day she gets a call. Now this lady was a picky lady. Her house was very clean and very orderly, and she didn't tolerate messes. Or so somebody was sick, they had to be in the hospital, a relative that had to come to stay with her, and they called her up, could they come? She said, okay. And they arrived with a young child. Young children don't sit locked up in their high chairs all day long. So this kid was starting to do what kids do. They explore a little. She got very upset. And she said, you got to go in your room. It's a very small room. You got to go in your room. You got to stay there locked in. You can't come out. You're lucky I'm giving you a place. And then the kid came out in spite of that, and it became too much pressure for the lady, and she gave him the boot. Told her it was a bad mistake. It was a very bad mistake. Then she was megala to me. She revealed to me an interesting piece of info. She said, when I decided to be makabel, to do nasas under duress, it was a few months before she had the opportunity, my body turned into a young body again. And I became regular. I said, oh boy, was that painful. I said, you saw a nest that Hashem gave you such a chesed.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org